because it is all about partnership, right?
100%.
And this work cannot be conducted in isolation, right? Or we certainly can't operate at our highest and best. So talk about some of those strategic relationships, right? And what they look like and feel like. Give us maybe a recent example.
Yeah, I think there's so many. So I can say with Marana, Oro Valley, and Saurita as an example, we actually were all using the same lead generation software. And that was, the reason for that was because we wanted to effectively have one unified approach, right? So each of their needs are different because it's very respective to what their assets are.
Right.
And for us, the idea was complementing those efforts and also to leverage our assets, right, to be able to attract what exists in our plan, right, what industries.
Probably not to duplicate efforts unnecessarily.
Correct. And then the idea is that once they've identified a company that they want or they need or whatever, we can come in and help them, right? But the biggest, I think, benefit to it was not only did they generate leads or did we generate leads together, but you could tap anyone in at any given moment. So I could reach out to Paul in Oro Valley or Victor in Saurita and say, hey, this is happening. This company may or may not be a fit for Oro Valley or Saurita or Marana. What do you think? How should we approach this together? So it was a really cool unified approach, and I think we renewed that subscription now, so we're going to be doing it again. I don't believe Saurita is participating this time because they kind of shifted a little bit of their focus. Not a knock against them, they're just doing a thing, right? And so we're still involved with them every single day, talk with them, do whatever we got to do to help. So that's kind of a local partnership. An interesting one that we have up at the state level with the Arizona Commerce Authority is recently partnering on a lot of different foreign direct investment visitation that we've had. So this involves everybody, but because the county is such a prominent figure, right, just in the region as well as in economic development, when they are discussing traction opportunities, the ACA, with foreign companies or different countries that have similar interests, they bring in municipalities, and so they bring us in on these discussions. So we've entertained a fair few groups of individuals down here, and again, not just with the ACA, but it's the ACA, the county, the city, some corridor, etc., working together. So we've had Swedish delegations here. We just had it was a group of French businesses. I believe we're going to have a group of German businesses coming up relatively soon. We're working concerted on some Mexico efforts as well. And so we're just trying to do all of it all at the same time.
Because generally speaking, Mexico and Canada have been the two leading foreign investors for the state, right? Historically, those numbers haven't changed much over time, even when I was doing economic development. So, and the UK is another region that is often interested in us.
Yeah, and we actually have had a couple of visitations where we've left the country, right? And we've actually gone to Mexico City with the ACA and several of our partners down here. I'll actually be going to Mexico City again this coming February on another trip. And then we actually went to Taiwan because of the semiconductor boom in Arizona.
TSMC, especially in the Phoenix area.
Yeah, so we went there to see if maybe there's an attraction opportunity for some of those upstream and downstream suppliers, manufacturers, all that kind of stuff, so that they can be in proximity to what's happening up in Phoenix, but not necessarily in the fray. And it's a different, kind of competitive cost, right? So we're a little bit more competitive from an affordability standpoint. Several things that they have to work out, right? But we do have a very unique value proposition down here that could facilitate some of those things happening.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that we mention, and it probably requires partnership, is the Mosaic project.
Yes, yeah, amazing project. Really interesting to have worked on. First and foremost, shout out to my boss, Carmine, who's been working on that for, it seems like forever, and Frank Knott, obviously, and Lindsay Knott. I think what has happened, seeing that groundbreaking first and foremost, really drives the reality of it home. It's extremely unique and is going to be effectively a flagship program down here, in my opinion.
I would say for the Southwest.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
100%. Even better context, honestly. We're going to be drawing so much attention, right, in so many different ways that this will put us on the map in a very unique way. And brand new infrastructure, right, in that industry or those industries, right, that are all kind of coalescing, is going to make us extremely attractive. Tourism will be huge for us, right?
Well, right? Because I think it's an example of in community development. Certainly, we talk about strength-based approaches, right? To me, this is such a strength-based approach given how important tourism is to us, you know, at least $1 billion a year, right, in tourism. Climate overall, right, is such an important selling point for us. And so even though it's a venue, it's a destination, the multiple industries, right, and resources that will be not only tapped into, but expanded.
Well, and to your point earlier about partnership, right? It's a unique partnership between private development and government. There's academic partnerships there. There's, you know, obviously sports partnerships with the University of Arizona and the Ice Cats and everything.
Also new sports that aren't generally played here.
Yes, and everyone talks about hockey in the desert, right? I find it kind of funny because
and how successful ice hockey clubs have been.
And
right?
they're very successful. And it's interesting because there's a lot of locals who love playing hockey, and everyone's always like, oh, it's so crazy to have hockey in the desert. I've been playing hockey for years. I played from when I was 5 years old until I was 16 years old. So everyone's kind of freaking out about it. And I'm like, that's, you know, I was doing that 20 years ago. No big deal. But it's really cool because all those partnerships coalesce. And then there's education partnerships too, right? So, you know, PCC with their culinary program and everything, there's a direct link to this whole thing too. So it's just some of the things that you never would think about. And sometimes you don't think about those at the front end. But as things develop
during the discussion and the kind of the creative aspect of it,
the light bulbs start going off, right? And everyone's like, yeah, this is going to be a really cool thing.
Because it's sports complex, essentially, right? But it'll incorporate entertainment and hospitality.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
And so in a nutshell, and groundbreaking has taken place.
Yep.
It's a 5-year project, or there's different phases?
Different phases. I think the overall economic impact, at least what has been calculated now, is like $12.5 billion, 1 million square feet under roof. And again, I'll have to go back to see if that's just for phase one or if it's the iterations of all the phases.
Right.
There's a little bit of, you know, leg room to move because sometimes phasing does not happen exactly as you think it's going to. But when all is said and done, the numbers are huge, right? And that's only really good for the whole region and for everybody down here.
And it'll be interesting to see because there's the usual communities that come to us for these types of experiences, right? But how that changes over time and what other opportunities we're able to recruit and retain as a result of having this really expansion of the Keno sports complex.
And it'll add such a really important element of quality of life that not only does it make it really beneficial for us in attracting more opportunities in sports and sports tourism, but that type of venue is extremely attractive to people with just traditional regular companies, right? Whatever that looks like, and their workers. That's a quality of life thing that we can tout and we can talk about.
Right.
And we can say, not only are you going to just love it here in general because it's beautiful, et cetera, but have you seen this brand new beacon of amazing opportunity and fun that your employees are going to love, by the way? Bring them here.
And families can spend time in, right? And youth development, right? So the list goes on and on.
You name it,
really
it'll probably
exciting.
be involved.
Yeah, great, excellent, thanks.